If you're looking for one form of exercise that can give you fantastic results, it has to be sprinting. First and foremost, it overcomes the three major objections that I see when talking to people and clients: time, money, confusion. Time, it's probably the shortest activity you'll actually do in terms of work to rest ratio. More on that later. Money, decent pair of trainers, you're set. Maybe a watch can help in terms of time in your intervals, your recovery, even looking at speed and heart rate, stuff like that, just to keep you in a good place. Number three, confusion. It's quite simple. I'll give you the benchmarks now. When you look at the research, repeat efforts of several seconds, possibly 80% plus effort, will give you 11 repeat rounds at the same level. If you reduce the rest from 2 minutes down to 60 or 90 seconds, you're good for about six, and your repeat ability will decline. If that didn't make any sense, quite simply, run for 6 seconds and have a 2 to 3 minute rest. Simple as that. Use that as your blueprint. Now, I've enjoyed sprinting as a masters athlete for several years. I took it up at 44. I'm 50 next year. Yeah, bit of a shock. And I still enjoy it. I still compete. The reason being is that for me, it's fun, it's challenging, but the health benefits physically and mentally are incredible. First and foremost, it's great as an offset for osteoporosis in terms of bone density. It's great for tendon and ligament strength, for muscle, for core because of the nature of the arm action, for balance. It's wonderful for lean muscle mass. But more importantly, what many people do not realize is it's great as a fat burning tool because of its raised metabolism effect. And the big one, mental health and well-being. Why? Who doesn't love running fast? Most people love the feel of that exertion, particularly if you're an adrenaline junkie. You can kind of get that buzz from seeing how fast you can go, from setting yourself some goals and looking to beat those times, maybe 60 meters, 100 meters, 200 meters. So when we look at time, the best thing I can recommend is to start off light. So all of you have a current top speed. I wouldn't recommend going there yet. Think of that as your top gear. So if you're doing park run and you're running 6 miles an hour, it's probably safe to say that you can cover 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 comfortably. And the reason this will be beneficial is because every distance runner will benefit from sprinting. Stronger ligaments, stronger tendons, better ankle stiffness, return of force, minimal energy leakage, you name it. If you're competing here, the ability to train here means that this is so much easier. It doesn't work the other way around though. Not many sprinters will benefit from running 10K or a half marathon. It's possible, but it wouldn't be needed because they've got very specific and different types of engines. Distance running will always benefit from sprinting. If you think about it, an element of improvement in the tendon ligament and maybe ankle stiffness of 1% over several thousand steps, you get the bigger picture. It's chunks of time off of your personal best. So my recommendations for equipment: a good pair of trainers, and more importantly, be careful where you run. I wouldn't spend too much time on the tarmac because you're hitting something solid. It could lead to shin splints, knee strains, that kind of stuff. Best place is a running track. Not everyone has access locally to one of those. Your second best option is a field, not a paddock, not off-road, not the forest, but something at least level. You want to avoid any divots and kind of hidden surprises, shall we say, because you don't want to roll an ankle at speed. It will lead to serious injury. A nice field, cricket ground, if they'll let you on. Football pitch is ideal as long as it's mowed and looked after. You want it to be as level and short as possible so that you can see your next steps. Best option if you don't have that is you could run on the spot at home, doing kind of, fast turnover. You can use a resistance band and attach it somewhere so that you actually run but resisted and held back. The one that I've used with a lot of clients is treadmill, believe it or not, because where your foot's hitting a moving surface, the physics in terms of return is much more kind of lower, probably 30% give or take. So again, you offset that shin splint, that knee strain, that hip impact for new people, beginners that are kind of fresh to this. But the big win here is all of your variables are taken care of. You're out there doing a run, and for a lot of people, they struggle with pace, they struggle with time, they're not sure of distance unless you've got a good GPS or a pre-mapped route and you've measured it. So for you going out to a field and saying, "Oh, I'm going to run, 10 intervals at 10 miles an hour," if you don't know how fast you're going, you've got really no idea of managing that. Treadmill takes care of that. Why? You set the speed, it will show you your time, you've got your distance, done. And the great thing there is you don't have to think. What I get my clients doing is they will jog for, I say jog, they're not yet sprinting, so looking at 8, 9, 10 miles an hour. They'll jog for around 10 seconds and they'll walk for the rest of that 2 minute loop, 10 seconds on, 150 recovery, walking at 2 miles an hour. We rev it up, we bring it back down. They check their heart rate, they look at their zones, their intensity, their relative recovery. And the great thing here is you get to see real-time progress because you know the level at which you're working, but over time you can plot recovery. When you can do the same effort with less exertion in terms of heart rate, you can then go up a level. And I've seen people in a few months run at a faster speed with a lower heart rate than they had at the speed below that. And that is significant improvement in that cardiovascular system. A great way in for most of you will be to find a field, go out there and run. Run a comfortable pace for several seconds, walk back, have a drink, check your watch, and in 2 to 3 minutes, when you feel reasonably fresh, and that's an important thing. With a lot of clients, I use the analogy of rocks in a backpack. I think this could be very helpful for people that don't really understand rest at the gym. Rocks in a backpack. The higher the intensity, the heavier the weight, the longer the duration, the more rocks you place in this backpack. For example, a max deadlift, 10 reps squat at 85%, 100 meters at 90 plus percent effort. You've got some rocks in a rucksack that are weighing you down. And ideally, you want as many of them removed as possible before you go again. So just to detour into the science there, your ATP, not the tennis championships, the adenosine triphosphate is basically the fuel system. That is replenished by around half or more in 30 seconds. That's your repeatability. But by analogy, there's still a lot of rocks in that backpack. It's probably more beneficial for you as a beginner to get rid of almost all of them instead of some of them. And what I mean there is when you repeat that run, make sure you're reasonably fresh and have had around 3 minutes rest because the very nature of sprinting is high intensity, huge amounts of force through the tendons, ligaments, and muscles, and it is draining, it's fatiguing, it's very tiring work. Very rewarding, but you are working at a very high level, and that needs recovery. The benchmarks here, most people can sprint twice a week. Don't go out every day, twice a week with a good 2 to 3 days in between them so that your nervous system fully recovers. If you are in your 20s, the joy. You could probably get away with 3 sessions with 48-hour rest, maybe Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Several intervals, several seconds, nice big rest and recovery, and go again. You can use a watch, you can get your speed, you can get your steps, your cadence, you've got heart rate as your kind of coach on the wrist. And the reason I mention that is so beneficial for people that have gone in with limited knowledge. And panicking over how fast, how frequent am I going to die? Should I feel like this? It feels easy, it feels difficult. This is your best friend. Why? Ideally, you want to take your heart rate up, and this is obviously ballpark for those watching. It's an individual thing, but you probably really don't want to be going above 160, 170 as a beginner. Let your heart rate come back down to about 120 or less and go again. So if you operate between those zones, too high, you're probably struggling and will need more recovery. Too low, you're probably not pushing yourself and getting the benefits that you could. So the time, it's simple. The money, good pair of shoes, maybe a watch. The confusion, which is the big one for a lot of people, they've tried personal trainer and gym and different diet plans and routines and classes. It's simple. Find a place, go there twice a week, add that in with maybe some distance intervals, maybe some 400-meter repeats, couple of resistance-based sessions a week, either at home or at the gym, get some equipment, and I guarantee you, you will be good to go. So my goal is to get as many people, parents in particular, into health and fitness and have that as a gift that they give their family. Start today, find a field, go run. And let me know in the comments how you found it. I mean, for some of you, you may well join a local or, regional outfit and get involved in some competitions. It's a wonderful way to push yourself. It's a great hobby, great way to meet people. And every now and then we like to test ourselves and see what we are made of. And I hope you enjoy the world of sprinting as much as I have. Take care.